Hey, to the Chico with the Garboders back with another awesome Pokemon card video. Today we're going to be going over the Super Broken Gas deck that I played at the Greensboro and Daytona Regional Championships. Both of these were the expanded format, and this deck's kind of been a work in the making ever since the League Cup I played in the week before Greensboro Regionals. So sometime early to mid-March, I decided I wanted to play Zora Lucario because I love Zoroark. Originally I was going to be playing Zoroark just like everybody else, but Lucario seemed like it had better matchup coverage considering Pikarom was like the best deck in the format going into Greensboro, or at least it was hyped up to be the best deck in the format. And then at Daytona it ended up being the most played deck at the entire event. So this deck I feel like has neutral to positive matchups across the entire board. Nothing's unwinnable except for anything that plays Mismagius. We're not going to talk about that right now. So I'm going to get right into the deck here. We're going to start off with our 4-4 Zoroark GX line. Zoroark's my favorite card in Expanded because you use its ability trade, discard a card from your hand and draw 2. Super insane draw engine. You can get multiple of these set up and draw as many cards as you want. And N to 1 can turn into N to 9. It's insane. And then Riotous Beating for DCE does 20 for each Pokemon you have in play. Typically a full bench will do 120, but we do play a Skyfield in this deck, so you can take some crucial one-shots. As for our Zorua, we do play the Paralyzing Gaze one. It's the optimal Zorua, and Expanded, just flip a coin if heads, your opponent's paralyzed. So if you happen to go second, you start this and you have energy in hand, you can use that to slow your opponent down for a turn, and then it's essentially like you went first. So we play those, then we play a 2-2 Lucario GX line. Lucario's insane for its Aura Strike attack. When you evolve a Riolu into Lucario, during the turn you evolve it, it does 120 damage instead of 30 for 1 fighting energy. We play Strong Energy and a few other damage modifiers in this deck, so you can actually take one-shots with this attack as well. And then, like I said, against Pikarom and the Zoroark Mirror Match, you can hit them for weakness and take easy one-shots with Aura Strike. And then a lot of games you're not going to use a GX attack with this deck, but if they do happen to attack into Lucario, it has Cantankerous Beatdown for a DCE. It does 30 for each damage counter on this Pokemon, so if they don't take a one-shot, you can punish them for that. And then we do have Cyclone Kick for 2 fightings and a colorless. You rarely use this attack because it takes 3 attachments to use, but if you somehow manage to power that up in the Pikarom matchup, it's almost a free win. So we have those. Next up we have a 1-1 Alolan Muck line. Alolan Muck's super good to shut off basic Pokemon abilities. In Zoroark Mirror Matches, you can shut off their Execute's Propagation, you shut off Shaman, Zeraora GX, Tapu Koko GX. The main one we use this to shut off is Wobbuffet. Again, Hitmonchan and Wobbuffet, that's probably our toughest matchup. And being able to shut off their Bide Barricade ability so you can use your own trades and set up, it's super good. And once you get this in play, the matchup becomes so much easier than it was previously. So that's why I play the Muck. And then we play 2 Tapu Lele GX. Wonder Tag is its ability. You bench it from your hand and search your deck for any supporter you want. It's good for getting your turn 1 Bridget to set up your board state. Late game you can Lele for Guzma or Faba, Colress to draw a bunch of cards. It's super good. It's a staple in basically every deck. And now for our one-of Pokemon, we have 1 Shaman EX. Just bench it from your hand, draw until you have 6 cards. Super good for early game setting up. Especially if you have Ultra Ball to thin your hand down and draw as many more cards as you want. You have 1 copy of Execute Propagation. It's as many times as you like from your if it's in your discard pile, you can put it in your hand. So it's kind of like a free trade. You don't actually have to discard a card because you just trade the Execute, put it back in your hand, trade the Execute again. Super insane. Play 1 copy of Roadblock Sudowoodo to limit your opponent's bench to 4. Like I said earlier, we have a Skyfield in this deck, so if I have a Sudowoodo and a Skyfield in play, I get 8 Pokemon and they only get 4, so it's a super good disruption card. We play 1 copy of Resource Management or Rangaroo. It's super good to just attach any kind of energy in your deck to it and put 3 cards from your discard back on the bottom of your deck. Typically, you're gonna get your deck super low, if not to 0 cards, and a lot of matchups, you can just Resource Management your VS Seekers or Enhanced Hammers, whatever you want, to keep your opponent from winning the game, and you just keep your deck filled with only cards you want to see. So Resource Management is a card that will prevent you from decking out. We have 1 copy of Girafarig. Girafarig's Get Lost is kind of, we mainly have it in here for the Archie-Stoice matchup. They play 1 copy of Escape Rope, 1 copy of Itate and Liza, 1 Guzma, and sometimes they'll play 1 copy of Acerola. So if you get your opponent in a spot where they're not expecting Girafarig and they battle compressor away the Titaniza and the Guzma, you can Guzma up a Blastoise and get lost to put their Titaniza and Guzma both in the lost zone, and then they only have access to that escape rope for switching, assuming you're not damaging anything for them to Acerola. So that's our win condition against Blastoise, which is probably our second toughest matchup, but we do play lots of cards in order to help that matchup because of how popular the deck is. And speaking of those, we play one copy of Wobbuffet, Bide Barricade, like I was telling you about earlier. As long as it's in the active, only Psychic Pokemon in play have abilities. So as long as it's in the active, they can't use Deluge for the Blastoise. So this is another card you can just stick a Blastoise up in the active with. And they're going to have a hard time getting it out or setting up their own board. Oh, another thing to note, it does have the Psychic Assault attack. I was testing with one of my friends, Ben Gately. You probably know him from Garboders Monthlies. And he put himself in a spot where he was just using Psychic Assault for 10 on a Magikarp and Wailord, and it was stacking up. It does 10 damage plus 10 more for each damage counter on them, so the more times you use the attack, the more damage it's going to do. And he was able to take a 3-prize knockout just with Psychic Assault since his opponent couldn't set up their board, so that's very good. On to our supporters, we have 2 copies of Colress, a Sycamore, N, Guzma, Bridget, Acerola, and Faba. Colress is probably the best draw support card in the entire expanded format, being able to shuffle your hand in your deck and drawing a card for each bench Pokemon in play, both yours and your opponent's. With Zoroark, you're almost always going to have a full bench, so that's 5 guaranteed, and assuming your opponent has 3 or 4, that's 9, and we play the Skyfield, so we can draw more than that, and then we have our trades on top, so your hand's going to be very big in this deck. We have 1 copy of Professor Sycamore, because assuming you don't have turn 1 Bridget, or you really just want to get a bunch of cards you don't want out of your hand, Sycamore is super good to just ditch unneeded resources and draw as many more cards as you can early game. We have 1 copy of N for late game disruption on your opponent. Say they go ahead in prizes, you can end them down to 1 or 2 cards. Specifically in the Archie-Sois matchup, that's not a matchup where we're going to be taking all 6 prizes. Our goal is to mill them out and run them out of resources, so end them to 1 while we're drawing 6 or so is super good. We play a copy of Guzma to just switch our opponent's Pokemon, switch our Pokemon out of the active, like Wobbuffet or Muck. If they stall something we don't want, we can get it out, and Guzma up something we do want them to have in the active so we can knock it out. We have 1 copy of Bridget, which is our main setup supporter. Turn 1, you almost always want to be using Bridget to get multiple copies of Zorua or Riolu in play, just so you can start drawing as many cards as possible turn 2. We play 1 copy of Acerola to pick up damaged Pokemon. We do play Rainbow Energies in this deck, so if they do try to stall a Muck in the active, we can Rainbow Energy Acerola. That is a strategy with any of our Pokemon in play. You just Rainbow Energy Acerola since it has damage on it. Or if it's looking like they're going to knock something out in 2 hits that we don't want knocked out, we Acerola to pick it back up and heal it all the way. And then 1 copy of Faba to Lost Zone, mainly DCEs in the Zoroark Mirror match. Zoro Seismitoad ended up winning by the hands of Caleb Gettimer at the Daytona Regional Championships. So we can Faba all 4 of their double colorless energies. They don't have a way to attack, which also means they don't have a way to use resource management, so we can mill them out that way. Those are our supporters. On to our items. We have 4 copies of VS Seeker, 4 copies of Ultra Ball. These are 2 4-of items. VS Seeker just is a rainbow of any of these supporters I previously listed. You just get to pick a supporter from your discard and put them right into your hand. It's super good. You always want to be playing 4 of them in expanded Zoroark decks. And then 4 copies of Ultra Ball. Discard 2 cards from your hand, search your deck for any Pokemon, put them in your hand. It's so good. It's a mainstay to set up Pokemon, get Lele for Bridget, get Shaman to draw cards, Zoroarks, turn 2. You need those. And now for my favorite card in the deck. We actually play 2 copies of Counter Catcher. Originally at the Daytona Regional Championships, I was playing 1 Counter Catcher and 1 copy of Plumeria. It was my biggest regret of the entire tournament. Don't play Plumeria in this deck. 2 Counter Catchers insane, especially with the combination of Girafarig against Archie-Sois. You just will put Girafarig in the active, Counter Catcher up Blastoise, Lost Zone their Guzma, Titaniza, and hope it sticks. And since we have 2 copies, even if we don't have resource management in play and they do manage to power up a Blastoise and retreat it, we can Counter Catcher again and just start Lost Zoning their energies so they don't have a way to power that up and retreat that way. So it's super good. We play 1 copy of Enhanced Hammer to get rid of opposing DCEs, Rainbows, Strong Energies, any kind of special energies that you'll see in the expanded format. Enhanced Hammer's there for that. We play 1 copy of Field Blower to get rid of pesky tools like Floatstones on Garbotoxins, Choice Bands on Magikarp and Wailords, or anything else that could be disturbing to our board state. We play one copy of Rescue Stretcher just to be able to get any kind of Pokemon from our discard pile. We get to choose one and put it back into our hand, or we can shuffle 3 from the deck, or the discard back into our deck. Most of the time you're going to be using this for a Rangaroo just because you want to have either a Rangaroo or a Rescue Stretcher in play to prevent deck out. A lot of times you'll find yourself using resource management to put back like 2 VS Seekers and Rescue Stretcher in case they knock out the Rangaroo, and then you can Rescue Stretcher, put a Rangaroo back on your bench, VS Seeker, Guzma, and repeat. Super good for that. Next up, we play one copy of Battle Compressor to search your deck for any 3 cards you'd like and discard them. Typically, it'll be turn 1, say you have a VS Seeker in your hand, you can get rid of Execute, the Bridget, and you can play the VS Seeker for Bridget, fill up your bench without benching Lele, and any other cards you're not going to want in certain matchups or just supporters you're going to want a VS Seeker for later. Play one copy of Special Charge, shuffle 2 special energies from your discard back in your deck. Like I said earlier, we lose against Mismagius because all we do is play special energies. There's 0 basic energies in this deck, so Special Charge can get back anything. Play one copy of Computer Search as our ace spec. Discard 2 cards from your hand, search your deck for any card you would like. It's probably the best ace spec. I've had some people telling me to play Dowsing Machine, but Computer Search is just such a good setup card. I think it's the optimal ace spec. For our tools, we play 2 copies of Floatstone and 1 copy of Choice Band. Originally, when testing, I was playing 2 Choice Band, 1 Floatstone, but because of the control approach this deck started to take, 2 Floatstone seemed better to just get Wobbuffet in the active against Archies, or, I don't know, to put on the Muck in the Hitmonchan matchup. You want to make sure you are able to switch out all of your cards and have the optimal card in the active. For our stadiums, we play 2 Parallel Cities, 1 Silent Lab, and 1 Skyfield. I love the split stadiums. 2 Parallels, so good against a Zoroark matchup. So good to limit any deck down to 3 basic Pokemon on their bench. Silent Lab prevents basic abilities, the same thing that Alolan Muck does, but you can't actually get a Muck in play turn 1 because it's a stage 1. So if you can stick a Silent Lab turn 1 and then turn 2 get a Muck, you can completely shut Hitmonchan and Wobbuffet out of the game. And then 1 Skyfield. Super good to just fill up your bench and take a big knockout when you need to, especially if your opponent's not expecting it based on the other stadiums you played. And lastly, for our energies, we play 4 copies of Double Colorless Energy, 2 copies of Rainbow, and 1 copy of Strong Energy. Another thing we were originally doing was we were playing 2 Strongs and 1 Rainbow Energy, but the combination of Rainbow Energy Acerola seemed really good, and 140 with Lucario doesn't mess with as much math as it does. I don't know, the math doesn't really matter with Lucario that much. The only thing we're not hitting is the Lele knockout with Strong Choice Band, which is a little bit inconvenient, but I think the 2 Rainbow Energies just seems a little bit better with the whole Acerola play and the Psychic Assault against Archestoids. So this is the entire list. I hope you enjoyed this video. As you can see, a lot of this deck is actually very blinged out except for a few cards like 3 Ultra Balls, the Choice Band, and then mainly my energies. After this video, actually, I plan on going on to TotalCards.net and using coupon code GARBRODERS to get 2% off my purchase to order the rest of the bling for this deck. And I highly encourage you to also go on to TotalCards.net and use our coupon code so you too can get a discount on all of your Pokemon TCG needs. So until next time, guys, I'll see you later.